Well, the Ford era at Queen's Park is about to kick into high gear. The new premier has called for the election of the House Speaker today, the throne speech set for tomorrow, and a quick summer session to follow at the Ontario Legislature. And joining us live in studio now from Inside Dart Communications is John Wright. John, thank you so much for joining us
Great
this
to be
morning.
Here with you.
First off, we know that it's expected to be a very short session when it comes to a rare summer session, really. Can we expect that a lot of campaign promises will be rolled through in that short amount of time, just a few weeks?
No, it's a very symbolic period of time. I think what you're going to see is the Speaker elected today, and then we have what's called the throne speech, where the government has the Lieutenant Governor read a speech from the throne, and it lays out the priorities from the government. It won't really be much more than what we've heard in the election campaign. There'll be a short period of time where the government will have a very short agenda, probably to rule back the students to school at York, probably to confirm that they're going to cancel the cap and trade situation that they have. And then the last thing is probably to cancel, there's a windmill power situation in Ontario that was approved during the election campaign by an independent board, and they're going to say, listen, we shouldn't have done that during an election, so we want that off the books. That'll be a very important time for the opposition, because we're going to see that they're going to oppose everything that the government does. So it's the beginning of the summer, but it's the beginning of the framework for the next 4 years.
Right, and you speak about the opposition, rather, the NDP now being the official opposition. The PC saying that one of their priorities, as you mentioned, is ending the York Youth strike. Yeah. We know that the NDP, they're against that, and they blocked that legislation when the Liberals were in power. What do you think about what's going to be coming up this time around?
Well, I think this time around and the preceding time after that is going to be very, very tense in the legislature. I mean, it's very interesting where you've got, in between the two groups of MPPs, it's two sword lengths. It's just a little too far for you to actually jab somebody. But that actually is very much what's going to happen in the next number of months, because you're going to have the opposition party try to weigh the government down on everything that it does. And so everything will come to a vote. Everything will go through as long a process as possible on everything that they can, and they're going to try and have as many demonstrations on the outside of Queen's Park as they are on the inside. So for those of us that remember the early days of the Mike Harris regime, when the unions were on the front lawns, when there was an intransigence inside the legislature as well, I think we're going to see a lot of that. So these 3 weeks probably could have been a lot shorter if they just had the kind of government there, and the opposition party might have been a bit more split. It's going to be drawn out, and it'll be very, very vociferous.
All right, and we're looking at some of Ford's campaign promises. One of them that was repeated pretty often is the $6 million man, getting rid of the CEO of Hydro One. That's not being done right away, although it said it was something that was going to be top of mind. What do you think about that even being done within the next few months, even after this summer session is done?
Well, that's a really good point. You can only do so much in a short period of time, and the government's got a long legislative agenda to pour through. The issue there is, of course, is that the government doesn't own the majority of Hydro. It would be like saying, as a minority shareholder, that you want to fire the board or somebody else there and not having enough votes. So I'm not sure how they're going to work that through, but they do have, of course, years to kind of work it through on their own agenda.
Right. Okay. Again, John, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. John Wright. And be sure to follow the latest on the happenings at Queen's Park here on City News and on citynews.ca.